Rough stuff in game number 1 for SK Gaming. Let's see if they can turn it around in game number 2. Coming at you here, SK will opt for the first selection here. NRG with the second, so we'll see how that one works out. First bans last time around included the Guan Yu, was really interesting. But other than that, we saw some flavor bans, if you will. This time around, the Guan is going to lead the charge, and he'll be banned out right away. No Artemis either. If I'm SK, I'm thinking about banning this Thoth.
Or at least first picking it. The second ban was the Sercat, adapting a little bit too scary on that Egyptian poison goddess. You don't want him the freedom to dictate the pace of the game, or at least the physical assassin. There's ways to shut down the Habwa. Unfortunately, SK couldn't find them early.
There's ways to shut down the physical assassins.
That's true, but Sercat can still make a lot of big of an impact from behind, whereas a Habwa from behind, a little bit trickier.
Now that part is absolutely true. He will much more like a, I don't know, maybe like a, well, much more like a Bastet, I suppose. Tough to make the impact if you do find yourself behind, because all he really does is bring the damage. First, locked in Athena, which will bring the Thoth. And I guess that's tough, trying to decide, because I think you're either picking Thoth or Athena first.
Yes. And SK are calculating this to be like, okay, we still respect the Athena, the flexibility between the solo and the guardian position. Yes, Yammyn will secure his Thoth yet again, but they tried to make the plays against them. They just need to make sure that this time around they'll seal the deal.
Another Sobek here for SK, so a ton of control. 2 guardians. Love that selection. As far as dealing with what Thoth and Achilles can do, Sobek and Athena certainly are nice looks. And there's the Janus, totally. We got it, we asked for it, and we have been received. I messed all those words up, but my point is, we mentioned it before, and finally Lobby's going that direction.
And Lawbster loves this pick. I'm surprised he actually didn't play it into game 1, because it also has a lot of follow-up damage for the Sobek and the Athena engagements, but you're just adding extra mobility on top of it. In a world where healing meta kind of has been risen, Ra, I guess, was the reasoning behind it, thinking like they could get in and out of the action and then re-engage. But I think it's better to use those portals to be able to just re-engage.
Yeah, I think the Ra was more about the long range, trying to match what the Thoth can bring. The Janus will bring the portals, which allows the long range to become, well, shorter, because you can walk through the wall. Hebo, though, one more time, the assassin of choice for adapting. And I chose my words carefully there. The assassin of choice.
That's true. Played it very well in the first game, and honestly, outside of like that crazy good engagement between the Sobek and the Athena, he had no deaths.
Yeah.
He managed to die there, but was making a huge impact. But that was also because EmilZy was playing the Cerberus to give him so much extra penetration between his Ghastly Breath and the Stone of Binding. This time around, not picking it quite yet, but they do have a last pick. Cerberus actually banned away by NRG themselves.
Again, important bans. Hebo definitely falters against the Party Monkey and the Punch Guy.
The one punch guy?
Hood, Bats, and Mercury. Odin does a very good job against Hebo as well, though, and Odin will be the selection next to Ram. With Athena and Sobek already locked in, I kind of expect to see the Odin in the jungle for Faeles. I don't know, man.
I mean, it's just a clear-cut, cookie-cutter combination where you want to keep the Habwa contained. You're going to force an early Phantom from somebody if you want to make sure adapting lives from these early engagements, because a behind Habwa is no one's friend.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, I mean, I don't know about Faeles' ability to play the characters, whether it's going to be the Odin or the Athena, right?
Well, either way, it's going to be a test to him in true fashion to be able to make this hard switch. When your team is calling upon you to be more than an assassin, more than a one-trick pony kind of deal, it's important to show that you are up for the task, as NRG, now with the last pick selection for the Fafnir, probably going to be looking for some early objective control.
Should be pretty interesting. SK Gaming certainly looking more towards the late game with their Ram selection and the Guardians. NRG, on the other hand, can do whatever they want. I think Hebo presents a problem in the early game when built Bancroft, but also will be late game. Looking at Jing and Fafnir, also late game. I think we got a long one here, Tully.
It's possible, very possible, unless NRG get off to another great start the same way they did in game number 1.
You never know. NRG looking to clean things up here. SK Gaming trying to stretch it. Let's get to game number 2.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tully. Finch and Taco here once again as NRG and SK ready to battle here in game 2. And this time they've added an Achilles to the side for NRG, maybe even scarier early.
I think that might be even just a little bit more terrifying than last time, but what I'm really looking towards is SK's composition in game 1, I didn't really have any problems with it. I think that it was just unfortunate they weren't able to properly capitalize on some of those earlier engagements they were looking for. But game 2, who follows up inside of that Odin cage?
I'm not sure. They've got the Janus and the Ram, right? And neither one of them are particularly great at like AoE follow-up. It really feels a little bit more like single target damage, or maybe like a pit comp, or Ram's very good at catching you if you're getting away at low HP. Not so much at punishing you for being inside the Odin cage, but we'll see how it is they want to try and make this one work in game 2. And who do you think's going to win? Go ahead and vote for us in the Mixer poll.
I think the big thing for me also is that the Odin cage could maybe be utilized in a way that where they're just isolating certain members from NRG and looking to block off certain pathways or choke points. But even still, I just don't really see how the Janus and the Ram are going to be able to follow up as well as what SK are probably looking for.
We're ready to go into game 2, Taco. We'll get our chance to find out soon enough exactly how well they want to follow up. And it is going to be Faeles taking that Odin into the jungle, so we'll get to see the impact from these Odin cages sooner rather than later if they indeed are going to be able to catch anyone out. Now, it isn't very easy for a lot of these picks to get out. You know, Adapting, Yammyn are going to be trapped inside that cage. It does work in that way, but it's not like they're shutting off a big-time healer. It's not like they have a big mage ult to follow up. Like, we'll get to see what the impact is here soon enough.
Odin Janus just feels awkward to me, though, and emilZy gonna catch a hammer stun out there onto Funballer. Funballer just using all 5 of those astral arrows to clear this wave as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, emilitoo and maniaKK looking to secure the red buff, and HalfDevil, he poked his head over, but he won't be able to get anything out of it because it's gonna be maniaKK's red buff special straight over to the solo lane.
Yeah, maybe he could have if it wasn't for a solo laner over there for some reason, I'm sure is what he's saying, but with maniaKK there and with the teleport to come right back into lane, they are able to defend it without too much trouble. And emilitoo picks this one up for himself as opposed to giving it over to Yammyn. So he should have a bit of an advantage here in the lane with that extra power, despite being a little bit behind in XP.
The problem that I'm seeing, though, is HalfDevil still sitting at level 1, probably not going to hit 2 at the same time as emilZy, since emilZy did manage to get credit for that entire first wave.
That could give them an early advantage once they get those abilities online. Though, you know, Fafnir and Jing not always thought of as early lane bullies, but certainly could be if they get the opportunity. Of course, Funballer on the Ram as opposed to the on her, not nearly as imposing early on in the game, so they have the opportunity to potentially punish us. emilitoo takes really safe pathing there. Maybe giving a little too much credit with that super safe pathing?
Sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. With how aggressive that Funballer likes to play, I mean, we
That's
saw
fair.
him on her last game. He was looking for non-stop poke aggression against emilitoo, and sure, Jing probably not going to be able to confirm a kill onto her anytime soon, but you also don't want to eat half your health bar just in case Faeles decides to venture over early.
That's a great point. Funballer's been in the scene a long time as a hunter, and I don't think anyone could ever accuse my man of playing passively. Funballer often looking for fights and knows just how strong he is in this hunter role, so wouldn't be afraid to show that even up against emilitoo. So emilitoo takes a little bit of safer pathing just to make sure. Kind of walks into Persistent Gust there, but, you know, it's okay. It's all okay. I didn't even see it, Funballer.
It doesn't really do any damage if you just walk over it. It's all that knockup potential. Hammerstone, though, from emilZy will do a little bit more than that Persistent Gust, and Funballer are going to eat the full damage of the Persistent Gust. Meanwhile, HalfDevil looks for the opportunity to go in.
Does take a little bit of poke, as the clear from the Ram not going to be quite as strong as what emilZy and emilitoo can provide. In fact, actually going past the wave to look for damage on the HalfDevil, who's got that dash charged up. Funballer rolls in aggressively, disarm from emilZy, perfectly timed to make sure Funball can't follow up.
Great disengage out of emilZy. That's what you expect to see out of the Fafnir, just the patience that emilZy has holding on to each of these abilities to use them at the proper moment. I think that most Fafnirs in there would have probably already spanned that disarm just to try and get Funballer away.
And this is actually a really good matchup because Ram almost only does auto attacks, right? He doesn't have an impale. He doesn't have a heavenly banner. He doesn't have suppress the insolent or whatever Artemis's ridiculous names are. He's very, very much reliant without his ultimate on using auto attacks. So this disarm going to be even stronger. And emilZy can disarm, transform, disarm. I mean, he's got a lot to try and disable what Funballer wants to do.
It just feels a lot like SK could recognize some of the problems they encountered in game 1, so they look to compensate. Okay, we had Funballer on the on her. He wasn't able to have the early game impact we were looking for, and NRG tore us apart in the late. So this time, let's go for the late game hunter. And then we have Lawbster also with the Janus. He's just like, yeah, I wasn't able to utilize that raw celestial beam and into the Searing Pain more often than like 1 or 2 times. I think that we saw it actually happen. Speaking of which, Faeles gonna go right onto emilZy and emilitoo, looking to put the burst where it hurts.
He goes up and straight back down with the dunk. Two-man taunt comes out from HalfDevil. That's first blood on emilitoo. Funballer even gets the shot to get it done. emilZy is still standing, but we saw it. The follow-up that time for the Odin cage was Odin himself with the bird bomb combination.
That's the kind of early game start, though, that Faeles has to make happen, because I was actually just about to elaborate on the point where I just don't see where this Odin is going to go. Fortunately, Faeles goes in before Caster's Curse can really come to light.
In that case, he is able to find some kills. That was before emilitoo had the airstrike available. One of the safer options, too, so it was really well timed to make sure that it was as easy as possible to take down this dual lane for NRG. Faeles able to find a nice early kill. But remember, SK Gaming was able to find nice red buff invades and other advantages in the early game last game. Gotta show us they can maintain those here in game 2. And they've already got their heads in the right spot to do it.
Faeles and Lawbster and be able to secure the left mid Harpies, and this is about the same pacing though that we saw in the last game, except the primary difference has been SK have a kill before the 20-minute mark.
That's right, as HalfDevil finds a two-man taunt. Goes in the Dragonic Corruption, does emilZy. That should force back the rest of SK Gaming. In fact, emilZy wants to keep going in aggressive. Final judgment from Yammyn is enough on the Thoth yet again and finding kills yet again.
Yammyn just waiting until he knew that HalfDevil would truly have no escape, and meanwhile, maniaKK gonna be able to steal Ducky's blue buff. This is one of the issues that Sobek encounters being a Guardian into a heavy aggro lane like Achilles.
Wow, adapting was like 1 second too early for those XP camps. I think he was looking for that invade, but instead, right when he turns the corner, they're down. But yes, Sobek as a Guardian can kind of have a hard time defending the buffs. With lurking in the water, though, the actual mana itself won't be too big of a deal. More importantly, just losing out on that farm as adapting is here and lurking in the jungle.
Check out Ducky. He's taking the bait fully, but the water spout won't connect, and adapting might not have the damage to finish this off.
No, that's a huge difference, actually. That knock-up means that maniaKK can find a little bit of follow-up damage potential, that Ducky has further to walk, but dropping that, that single-handedly might let Ducky live there.
Ducky probably just pinging out to the rest of his teammates, because you can see Faeles looking to invade those back Harpies from adapting, and they'll be able to strip those away, no problem. All the while, Lawbster and HalfDevil on these left mid Harpies again. I like how important these buff timers are to SK, and they are making sure to rotate them off cooldown.
But look at the start here from Faeles as there's a bit of a fight over these oracles. He really is trying to make sure he can get around the map as fast as possible. Wants to be able to rotate quickly and then come in and drop those Odin cages like we saw him do in the dual lane already, Taco.
It's just that Faeles, we saw that one promising aggressive moment, but we haven't seen another one to follow it up. I almost want to see Faeles just looking to go in every time that cage is available. You have to pressure the advantages in Odin early game.
And there it is, dropping the cage. This time it traps maniaKK before you can get the fatal strikeout. Defender of Olympus comes in as well. maniaKK cannot stay in that cage long enough. HalfDevil gets the last hit necessary. It took a while, but they were able to bring maniaKK down.
Asking you shall receive, apparently, when it comes to SK, and I'm glad to see Faeles delivering, because the Odin was by far the biggest question mark of this draft, but Faeles could now be in a little bit of a problem here as emilZy looking to help defend this blue buff alongside of adapting.
When emilZy takes a great deal of poke trying to defend through space and time from Lawbster comes through as well, but he actually gets thrown in the wrong direction. Now adapting hit a big crushing wave. Faeles does find the portal so that he can reposition. Actually jumping in aggressively is emilZy, and it sets up 2 kills. Are you kidding me? The support for NRG jumping in bravely.
I don't think anybody saw that coming. You just assume that emilZy is completely running every single time.
Who would do that?
A madman. Someone who clearly was perfectly content with dying there. I think that emilZy was cool with taking a hit as long as his team found the 2 picks still.
Fortunately enough for emilZy, not only do they find those 2 kills, but he's still among the living, still drawing breath on this earth somehow. What a great play, and what trust in his teammates there, too, to be able to jump in and know they would have that follow-up for him, and they find those 2 picks to respond. Remember, that was SK, I believe, aggressing on the NRG's blue buff, and they get punished.
A big change-up that I like to see, though, from SK is HalfDevil actually opting for the shell earlier on instead of that sprint. I think that shell is going to be a little bit more useful against this Habois early game, and
yes,
we already saw, I think that it saved the life of the other 2 members from SK being able to proc it on all 4 of them at that blue buff hit. Otherwise, NRG probably just got a quadra.
Yeah, in all honesty, Faeles should have fallen there earlier, but their composition came very much to the rescue there. The portal he was able to use to reposition. He's itemized into the Achilles early. He didn't have that. I believe it was just the buckler for that fight, but also had a little bit of help coming out, as you said, from the shell. So a lot of things going to make that fight not as bad as it could have been, but certainly still a great play from NRG to punish them, at least in some capacity, and keep this early game not just even, but slightly in NRG's favor gold-wise and kill-wise.
Gold and experience just leaning a little bit more towards NRG's direction, but the experience still not as stark as what you would expect it to be. And even better yet is the fact that SK, at this point last game, it was already starting to careen more towards NRG's favor.
Pyromancer should be spawning here shortly. Lawbster and HalfDevil are here. EmilZy appears to be the target. Dash in. No taunt from HalfDevil. Just trying to force a response from EmilZy. They want to come in towards the blue buff, which is up. maniaKK is here for the defense. Defender of Olympus into the cage. Fatal Strike has been used to try and avoid some of the damage, but the dunk comes in as well. maniaKK does not make it out. Adapting does get Ducky in trade, and now comes in the damage from Adapting and Yammyn. They find a double kill for the jungler and blow up SK.
Here's where the differences start to come into play. emilitoo now chasing down Funballer, just needs to connect a couple more autos before going into the airstrike, and he's still looking for more.
emilitoo winning the 1v1 so far in duo lane. NRG hunting down Lawbster in the solo lane. 4 kills in total. This early game is starting to go in NRG's favor. SK had a good start to it, but yet again, they all in onto maniaKK with the Odin cage, and it just takes too long to get that kill.
Yeah, I'm not going to even call this one Caster's Curse, because that was just SK going way too deep in a moment where NRG definitely recognized that the blue buff invade was about to happen, and they all just go to assist maniaKK. SK just needed to disengage there with that through space and time, but unfortunately, it was used to try and help secure that initial pick.
Unfortunately, they did not have that one available, and look at what maniaKK's itemized into early here. The Bulwark of Hope. A lot of the times we see Pestilence like as an early magic defense item. We even see Genji's Guard, but this Bulwark, to get him that extra health shield when he's being all-in, especially up against Ducky and Lobster's damage, great itemization choice.
Also could have maybe opted for the Runic Shield too, just to really ensure that Ducky's not going to be able to have as much power as what Guardians typically look for in the solo lane, and right now, it's going to be NRG this time looking to punish HalfDevil.
HalfDevil does eat the final judgment, does eat the evade and punish, does go back to the grave, fails, has that shield charge, but he does jump in aggressively. Cage comes down on emilitoo. Lawbster is able to bring down the Hunter. The snipes come out from Funballer, but he cannot finish off EmilZy, who escapes, and Adapting hunts down Lawbster. Funballer gonna be the next one to fall. Double kill for the Habwa in the jungle. 5-0-3 for the Adapt King.
Just nowhere left to run. Lawbster getting pinned up against the wall even before he dies, and one more time, that's just SK trying to invade buffs that they probably shouldn't.
Overcommitting certainly is SK here so far. Great evade and punish to stun fails. Defender Olympus, I believe, did not hit EmilZy there because of that. And NRG, even though they kind of go a little bit far into that tier 1 tower, are able to survive and fall back. But that fight over in the jungle, Taco, I mean, what happened there?
It's just HalfDevil being a little bit too far ahead of his team, looking for those early setup taunts, and never really come into fruition, because all NRG have to do is group up and swarm the entirety of SK, while that Athena is just a little bit further ahead of everyone else. Faeles didn't have that Odin cage initially, and it was a great response, I think, at first from SK, but once the through space and time wasn't able to connect onto anybody, I think that they all just needed to turn tail and bail.
They commit a lot onto whoever the initial target is. They're trying to lock down the cage, because emilitoo, I believe, does fall there. So they get their kill, but it takes so much. It takes such a commitment for that to happen that Adapting can get lost in the fight. He can come in on the backside and track down Lawbster, and come in on the back and find more kills. It's not happening cleanly enough and quickly enough for SK inside the cage.
It's just Adapting had a great blink in there too for his engagement. That completely catches Lawbster off guard. Speaking of which, HalfDevil going to get knocked up from that persistent gust, so no taunt to follow it up, and the Oracles will go in NRG's favor.
9-0-9 for the jungle mid for NRG as red buff respawns, and SK want to be here to try and say something about it. A little bit too late this time, as there's a full 5-man rotation of that. Unable to find anything there, so instead they're going to try and force down the tier 1. maniaKK, Adapt, and Yammyn all here. They may not be able to save the tower, but they're definitely going to take the fight. Lawbster has to use beads and has to retreat through the portal. They don't even get the tier 1, and now they're on the run.
Everybody's just trying to escape. Lawbster going to throw that through space and timeout just in case HalfDevil or somebody else from his team needed it. Is all the while, emilitoo's just chasing Funballer back into his own jungle.
Been repeatedly bullying Funballer here in the dual lane. Is now NRG going to grab or look for Gold Fury. Lawbster, no through space and time available, no beads either. NRG certainly feel comfortable going for this now. HalfDevil and Faeles are all here. maniaKK is going to be the target. They all in commit on him once more as he's going to be the one frontlining, but Ducky is the one that's in trouble. The Sobek needs a friend and there's no one there to help out. EmilZy lands the stun. The Funballer can't even get up into the sky. EmilZy brings him down. Now Lawbster stun. Aegis keeps him alive for a moment, but only for a moment as he's in execute threshold and Fatal Strike doesn't land. The portal actually good enough for a return kill, but HalfDevil falls. So does Lawbster.
Lawbster's just got no other pathway to escape him, but shout out to the style kill there.
I like it.
Onto the Fatal Strike, catching maniaKK out at the right moment to lead into a kill. That's still going to be a Gold Fury, though, for NRG, and adapting right now, just covering all across Faeles' jungle to see what he can take.
And it's tough. Yes, maniaKK is 0-3-4 this game, but if that means that the rest of his squad can be 11-0-12 or whatever, adapting in Yammyn or whatever absurd combo they've made together here in this game so far, I think he's happy with it every time. It's a 5,700 gold lead, 9,400 experience lead at 15.5 minutes. You said earlier, Taco, that the early game went better. Well, NRG kind of got there eventually anyway.
And this is starting to happen right around that same 15 to 20 minute mark that we've been noticing NRG really starting to ramp it up against their teams. It reminds me a lot of Season 2, when these guys all used to kind of have the same sort of reoccurring game plan. It was farm, 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 and then one team fight just broke the whole game open.
They would flip the switch right around this mark. And this, of course, is a different team. You know, no Dimmy here, no iRapper, but it feels as if that DNA is certainly still there, as once they feel comfortable that they've gotten their lead, they're ready to come start forcing fights. And Ducky meeting up with that first hand, plucking not the right direction. There's nowhere for you to go, buddy. Ends up getting executed by maniaKK.
That's the panic pluck. You don't care which direction you're going, you're just trying to get out. And unfortunately for Ducky, there was no escape. And same might be said for Faeles here, as he is going to eat a large chunk of his health from Yammyn. And this is all prior to Yammyn even having that Obsidian shard online.
Man, EmilZy's almost the same level as Faeles and Funballer right now. He is the same level as Ducky. emilZy farming very well, or rather Ducky and Faeles and Funballer are having a hard time finding farm, as emilZy at level 13 and matching them. Stun comes out, Raven Shield into the knockup, not going to be enough. Just barely able to jump away from the Soul Reaver proc from adapting, but not going to be able to say the same for the tier 1 in mid or in solo.
I almost wish it was Funballer on the Agni to try and handle this Habwa just a little bit better, because SK clearly did not want to feel as though they needed to ban the Habwa. I think that they felt as though this Odin would be the response that they needed in order to keep adapting pinned down, but adapting, he's been a ghost at the start of a fight. You'll see him before everything happens, and then once the distraction factor has come through and SK or NRG have started to commit onto each other, adapting just takes the longest path around, looking to get better positioning for a flank. And that's been the big highlight for me here, is the fact that he's had so many different successful flanks.
He really has been able to come in on the backside of these fights and punish SK very well. But for me, I mean, I feel like the target selection maybe is not there for SK. It feels like they're constantly trying to all-in maniaKK, and maybe it's because maniaKK puts himself out there as bait and SK are happy to take it. But we talked about how they don't have quite the best follow-up for this Odin cage. Then it definitely can't be an Achilles you're trying to all-in. I mean, that's going to be difficult.
It's just, I think SK are starting to realize maniaKK might be the only member they can truly target, because everyone else from NRG is just so heavily protected. Adapting is almost impossible to keep track of, because you have to worry about the front line of NRG coming straight at you. And HalfDevil also has really just been a high casualty this game, because every single one of those times he looks to dash forward, it's almost always turned against him.
He has not been able to find the initiations, as Ducky is going to meet up with maniaKK in the jungle. They don't have the aggression there. emilitoo, though, trading very advantageously with Funballer and emilZy right here to force out the ultimate from HalfDevil just to keep him alive. Aegis has to be used to avoid adapting's damage, but Yammyn still has his long-range damage, not quite enough. Funballer does survive, but it costs a lot, and the tier 1 tower falls.
Cost Funballer both of his actives. Great reflex timers, though, on that Aegis for the water spout. Otherwise, I think we would have easily seen adapting, looking for the crushing wave follow-up.
That was actually crazy, I agree, from Funballer to be able to survive there with the Aegis. Because I think adapting blinked in for that water spout, and he just kind of responded to that audio cue and was able to live just barely. But as you mentioned, it cost quite a bit. No Defender of Olympus from HalfDevil, no Aegis, no beads. Also no blink from adapting, but other than that, they give up nothing due energy to get that pressure.
And poor Faeles, man. His itemization is looking pretty rough to try and deal with energy. He's got the Achilles and the Runic Shield, but I don't think that those protections are going to be enough against the Habwa and Thoth, who are level 17 and 19 respectively.
That's pretty gross, isn't it? We're 19 minutes into the game to be 6-0-5, level 19 on the Habwa jungle, Soul Reaver, Obsidian Shard. Both raring to go. Cause problems for whoever just happens to be nearby at this point in the game. I mean, it's just going to be a difficult life. And even look at EmilZy, Relic Dagger into Phantom. Even the Odin Cage is going to be less relevant now.
Adapting didn't even bother with the Bancroft's Talon.
That's right,
I think he felt as though he was going to be able to comfortably farm this one so efficiently that he didn't even view this Odin as a threat in the slightest. And I think that poses its own set of issues.
Going to pose some issues for this Gold Fury as well. Energy going to extend that gold lead as SK Gaming are not close enough to contest. Through space and time is used. They want to all in, try and pick someone off. Pluck lands onto adapting into the two-man taunt. Beads, though, allow them to reposition. Now Ducky's in trouble. Odin Cage comes out from Faeles, but Phantom is there in response. Energy ready to regroup, and this time they're picking their own targets. Lawbster falls very early. Fatal Strike reset. Doesn't find the execute, but they're still surging.
emilitoo using the airstrike to play even more aggressively. Going to be able to pick up HalfDevil with that double kill. Ducky making it all the way to SK's back. Harpies by red means that no one from NRG is really all that interested in chasing down this Sobek because it's the Fire Giant that they have next in their target.
And Taco, I like the idea from SK, right? They've lost so much this game. They got to find somewhere to try and get something back. Maybe Energy commit too much onto the Gold Fury, and they can all in them with that Janus portal, but they're so ready for it, Taco. It doesn't immediately work for them, and Energy are ready to turn and burn.
I can't even call this one step ahead from Energy. It just feels like they are taking leaps and bounds every single time. You think that there might be a promising moment for SK. It's just 180'd entirely in favor of Energy.
And adapting, and Yammyn very quick on the beads. EmilZy instantly there with the Phantom to get them out from the Odin Cage. I mean, Yammyn didn't even have to use the Purification Beads to get out of it. I mean, they just do such a great job of responding to the engage from SK Gaming, turning it around. Now they have Gold Fury and they have the Fire Giant. There's still tier 2 towers for Energy to grab to add to that gold lead before they start looking to siege these Phoenixes. Both these games so far have looked very clinical from Energy, but SK continue to show signs of life, Taco, and they're going to try and put up the best defense they can.
Sometimes, though, your best just isn't good enough, and for SK, I think that they might be reaching that moment, Finch. There's two T2s left standing on the map for them. The experience gap starting to get closed a little bit. I mean, they're at least hitting 16 and 17 outside of HalfDevil, but he's a support, so you kind of expect them to get blown up anyway. The big thing, though, is who front lines for SK?
There's not really anyone who can afford to go in right now and try and stand up to all the damage coming out from adapting, and Yammyn, who continue to go untouched in these team fights. They really don't seem to be under that much pressure. Finds the hammer onto HalfDevil. EmilZy, that's a great shot. Sets up maniaKK with the follow-up damage into the water spout and into the deletion. maniaKK finds the execute off of just a great hammer from EmilZy to catch him out.
It's just like clockwork watching Energy go to town here against SK Gaming. They're going to be able to take out the mid T2. HalfDevil down means it's a 4v5 fight, and SK don't seem very interested in taking it.
Blink in from maniaKK. Ducky's the next target. emilitoo gets the last hit, but everyone reined in the damage. Faeles forced to fall back. Energy grabbed the mid Phoenix. There's still a tier 2 tower. There's still 2 Phoenixes up, and Energy are going to go back towards the Phoenix on the left-hand side and grab that one. Only 3 of SK to defend, but HalfDevil's so low, he's back up and ready to fight here in just a second.
He's back to fight, but the Phoenix is already gone, which means that Energy's probably going to disappear with it. And sure enough, they fall back after getting what they were looking for in the first place. And now it'll probably just be an easy cleanup of whatever buffs are available in SK's jungle. And considering that the red hasn't spawned just yet, that should be saved for Lawbster.
Now, Energy have a big lead. but the carries for Energy are hitting level 20 right now. Yammyn's right about there as well. So the experience lead's not really going to be growing. They can't get more than level 20, so the gap's only going to shrink in favor of SK. They're getting close to getting 6 slotted here in a couple of purchases. They're not there just yet. So the gold lead's still relevant, but experience not as bad. SK still had to farm up a little bit, clear these ways, get what camps they can, and try and close this gap so they can catch up to Energy.
I just feel like SK, though, some of the decision-making has just not been there. HalfDevil building a 4th item, Gauntlet of Thebes, and there's not a chance he's going to be able to get that stacked even remotely close to making it useful.
It's definitely not a great item when you're behind. Sometimes you see supports forego it once they realize that they just need some protections in the moment. He did go Sovereignty Heartward first, but at this point, that Gauntlet of Thebes just does not seem like the play. The Odin Cage just used to try and keep this Phoenix standing, and for now it has worked, but Faeles has got to retreat. He's an execute threshold. Phoenix falls, and emilitoo's going in aggressively looking for shots. Funballer has to go up into the air. No one to peel for Ducky on the backside. Adapting takes him out. emilitoo with the Aegis survives, and Funballer can't make it back to the fountain. Faeles falls as well. HalfDevil just trying to get healed up, but the energy machine just too strong as they look to take game 2.
And not even a slight against SK. I think this is just Energy showing how strong they have been in Season 5 here. And looking up in the summer split in comparison to their spring performance, I don't think that Energy is planning on missing out on another LAN.
That's not what it feels like, does it? I mean, Energy has always been that kind of team where when there's any kind of slight, when they feel like they missed out on something, they're none worse, I think, in Smite than being the team after an Energy loss, right? Or after Energy misses out on something. That's always going to be rough, and these boys are so good at bouncing back.
I do like the mentality there, though, for SK. I think in Game 1, we certainly saw more moments where they felt as though they could efficiently fight back. I just think that they took a risk, and it didn't pan out for them, but I do like that SK at least tried to be slightly innovative with utilizing that Odin Cage. It was just the follow-up was not there most of the time.
And they couldn't find the targets that they wanted either. Energy did not make it easy for Faeles on that Odin, but who's going to be your MVP there after Game 2 on the side of Energy? Go ahead and vote and let us know in that mixer poll. Taco, you got an early front runner here.
Those are the games that are so hard to pick MVPs for, though, because everybody on Energy just looked fantastic, both Game 1 and 2.
For me, though, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to not give credit to either Yammyn or Adapting. I mean, that combo has just been so strong for them in this whole set so long. But maybe the desk has some better ideas on that. Who's your front runner? We'll get over to them to hear their thoughts.
Thanks a lot, friends. Hello. There we go. Just wasn't on my face. Thanks a lot, friends. Welcome back to the desk here. And Energy taking this one in 2 games.
And it's interesting because they're doing it in a different fashion. Habwa, yet again, for adapting. It's not something we're used to seeing, but they're making it work. And SK are trying to abuse it in Game 2. They invade the red, they invade the blue, but they get punished for it. HalfDevil is the unfortunate victim of both Yammyn and Adapting's clutches. Just so much magical damage between the two.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is just a fantastic look for Yammyn and Adapting coming together and just being what they can. Great stuff coming out from the tandem. Adapting going to be your MVP.
And the way he ended the game, being at 7-0-9, he was able to actually avoid the Bancroft's talent entirely, rushed the Warlock staff because he felt so confident that the team fights would start rolling around in the mid-game. And because they were so successful in thwarting the aggression out of SK, that build helped them out even further, stopping the Lawbster portals from even being useful. Every time SK made a play, HalfDevil died.
Yeah, rough stuff there for HalfDevil, the support player. Right now, going forward, though, should be a great look for Energy. I mean, these guys are just continuing what they've been doing. EmilZy came on the team, looked like they didn't lose a beat. So it's great stuff. If you want to hear us break down this matchup and more every Monday, 10 a.m., make sure to check us out on Esports Weekly. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope to see you there.
I'm excited about this next set. This one was a little bit spicy between Energy and SK Gaming, but the Obey versus Mouse one should be even spicier.
We'll be right back with that and more. Stay tuned for the SPL.
Put the place up. Put the place up, yeah we know what we made of. Can't get enough of you, boo, I'm a chaser. Face up, now I feel a little major. Blink of an eye, ego I'm a taker. Shaker, yeah she was a ball shaker. She shake me out that door to no place. Damn, why you doing all that? Thought you was my wife, but you stabbed me in the back. Sounding like a road when we came out there, we settled facts like the big G. So break it back, come on, get your ass up and slip it. Put another smile like it was the last Christmas, hey.